I would like to call upon Lindsay to share his views amidst this wonderful engagement.
Hello, good evening. The director of ijrula, the dignitaries, awardees, participants. I am Lindsay Isaac Yedu. I'm from Ghana. I am a research scholar at the Department of Economics, Mangalore University, Karnataka. So I came to India in September 2015 to pursue PhD through a scholarship grant offered to me by the India Council for Cultural Relations, ICCR. I think it is an offshoot of the India-Africa Technical Cooperation that was established under the Prime Ministership of the late Mrs. Indira Gandhi. So I honestly think that all the director said about the fact that victory comes after the history and that there are challenges we must look within actually applies to me, sir. Because it was after 2 years of being in India that I had my first publication. That was this year, 2018. And my first attempt, I had a similarity index of more than 40. But fortunately, since my first paper got published, I've published 6 papers afterwards. And so I will crave your indulgence to permit me to speak as a budding economist, even though the PhD has not been conferred on me, and I hope that soon it will be conferred. I want to share some ideas with regards to my area of research and what merited me for this award. And so, economics. I think every academic area and every professional area will make a case of working in the interest of humanity. But with economics, it's a special case. There is a professor called Paul Samuelson. Paul Samuelson said, economics is the queen of all the social sciences. Because, for example, we have agriculture economics, we have health economics, we have sports economics, we have legal economics, we have infrastructural economics, even we have political economics, and every area has economics in it. Now, most of the times, economics have taken a flack, has been criticized for not doing enough for the problems, especially of poverty, that we have in the world. But I think, indeed, that economists have not made their case. Most of the times, when people are going into business, it's all about profit. In economics, it's never about profit. Economics is about investment. And so it is on this basis that I would like to make my submission, my brief submission. In one of my papers for which I merited this award, I was looking at the conceptual basis of poverty, and I was referring to some of the scriptural texts. For example, I referred to the Bible, I referred to the Gita, I referred to the Quran, I referred to the Torah, I referred to the Tripitakas and the Kitas of the Baha'is. So if you look at the spiritual basis or the conceptualization of poverty, every religious text puts man at the center of God's creation. And so poverty cuts across every country and it's a global issue. And so my research area has to do with microfinancing. Now, microfinancing, the definition as put across by Amin and Inti Vamunda, 2009. It was a case study between Senegal and Gambia, but microfinance is a system of delivering financial services to the previously ignored who are deprived and they are in poverty. And so it's finance bringing people into the financial landscape with the hope of empowering them. Now, the concept of poverty and finance has its basis in every constitution in the world. And there was a they call it the Vienna Protocol, 1986, that made development a right for every person on this earth. So development is a human right. Constitution assures that the Vienna and all the United Nations activities are aimed more or less at poverty reduction. So microfinancing is one area. My research, my thesis has to do with reconstructing microfinance. Now, I have to refer to one important image I saw in the Harvard Business Review, 2015, January, February, where there are two men holding hands. And it's talking about man's confidence in man, which has to do with credit. And in that Harvard Business Review, credit is being portrayed to be the creator of the wealth of nations. It says credit has created wealth, has made countries wealthy 1,000 times more than any other thing you can imagine, 1,000 times more than even the natural resources we talk about. All right, so microfinancing today has been criticized by so many scholars, so many authorities, in so many books. For example, Homey and Metroid, 2014, says that microfinance has lost its moral compass. Microfinance has lost its moral compass. And David Rudman, 2012, is talking about the public perception of microfinance is like a pendulum swinging against microfinance. And you also have, for example, Hugh Sinclair. Hugh Sinclair wrote Confessions of a Microfinance Heretic. He said, it's an overpriced loan to the poor, as if it's helping them, but indeed it's working against them. You have somebody like Bittman and Chang, who are saying microfinance is working against sustainable development and sustainable poverty reduction. So I'm looking at all this, then I'm looking at the concept of lack of finance by Sinclair, by Sacerdote. Then I'm looking at the concept of financial intermediation and financial inclusion. But I think, finally, what I'm trying to emphasize, which economists emphasize, but I think it's not within the public domain, is that economics is more of building trust and relationship. And I think it's something that, for example, Nobel laureate Stiglitz has made this across. Now Stiglitz is talking about the value of trust in society as an economic resource. And I think I want to end by highlighting the works of Professor Amartya Sen. Professor Amartya Sen is a Nobel laureate from India, a great economics philosopher. He wrote the book on ethics and economics, 1987. And in that book, Professor Amartya Sen is talking about the value of duty, of loyalty, and of goodwill as essential qualities for the individual and group efficiency. And he's talking about commensurability and what he called plurality of evaluations. And he's taking his argument from the concept of consequentialism and economics. In other words, the basis of economics, in my last paper, for example, I'm looking at reconstructing microfinance in sub-Saharan Africa, choosing among social business, social finance, and the concept of co-creation. Social business is advanced by the Nobel laureate Professor Yunus. Then social banking also. But my argument is that at the end of the day, it's about co-creation. Co-creation is anything two persons come together to co-create. And so bringing the ideas from Prof. Yunus, Amartya Sen, Professor Stiglitz, I'm arguing that trust in society is an economic resource. And so finally, please let me quote what Professor Amartya Sen says. He says, "The life of money making is one undertaken by compulsion. Wealth is not the good we seek, and it is merely useful and for the sake of something else." I thank you very much. Thank you.